This is the Out of Time Film Podcast, where your hosts Tom and John discuss everything from blockbuster films to TV and games like there's no tomorrow.
Hello and welcome to the Out of Time Film Podcast. My name is Tom, and as always, I'm joined with my co-host John.
Hi.
And this week we are returning to Arrakis, John, with Dune Part 1.
It's been such a long time since we've explored Dune. We always had this conversation about, is it Dune or is it Dune? Is it Dune or Dune?
Dune or Dune? I literally, because we covered this film back in 2021 when it first released.
Oh my God, yeah.
I briefly went back to that video just to kind of see, what was the vibe? What was it like? And we literally start that episode by saying, is it Dune or is it Dune? We're creatures of habit, we are.
Oh my God, okay, it's great that we never stopped that. But oh my God, yeah, so this is crazy that this has been such a long time. We haven't been talking about Dune, and Dune came out in 2021. It was supposed to be coming out in 2020, but due to COVID, that drastically delayed all the movies in that year. And this was such a brilliant film to go back into movies when cinemas were closed, and we were just gifted by Denis Villeneuve for this film. I think I have changed a lot since I watched Dune, because like when the film came out years ago and you feel like, oh wow, I feel like this is something completely different.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it really is crazy because at the time we really liked the film, but we definitely, I don't know, I feel like we just
we were confused.
Yeah, we were confused. We were kind of a little bit disappointed that it was only half the story. We weren't quite.
Why is it part one? Why
is
it part
exactly.
One here?
Like that reveal at the end. I remember so specifically the film ending and then the title Dune coming up again, and then it saying part 1, and me being like, "What? What are you talking about?" But to give a little bit of context, they re-released this film at the cinema recently, and I went to go and see it on the super screen. Our local cinema doesn't have IMAX. Really? I know. I'm sorry, but the super screen is still great. I went to see it, and oh my God, I feel like I was just like an out of body experience. This is absolutely one of the greatest modern blockbusters.
Yeah.
It stands alongside Avatar: The Way of Water and Top Gun Maverick, and The Batman as these incredible blockbusters that push against the rest of the films that come out, the rest of the landscape. Like if you think about Dune Part 2, which is coming out next week, the other films that we're getting in March consist of Ghostbusters and Godzilla X Kong. And I'm going to watch both of those movies, and I hope that I enjoy both of those movies. But they are not Dune. Dune is just, it feels like a lost art form that Denis Villeneuve is like, no guys, we can still cook.
Yes, we can still cook. And this, I completely agree. This is something that years ago when watching the cinema, I knew there was something world-changing, for me when I was watching it. And it was like, how on earth did Villeneuve create this massive blockbuster that David Lynch tried, but he felt like that was a failure because he didn't have that full control. What Villeneuve did was he went beyond. I watched so many interviews about how Villeneuve created the film. He went back to the book. What Frank Herbert did, he created this insane world of Arrakis, and there's so much conflict that is going on, and it just made it so realized, which is so crazy at the time to think about when he released that book. And it's like there's so much lore that Villeneuve wanted to get out of the book to make this actually work, because there's past filmmakers that thought, oh my God, the books will be amazing to turn into a film adaptation. Like, for example, Stanley Kubrick thought that Lord of the Rings was unfilmable. Like, it would be impossible to film that. And here we are. We've got the trilogy of Lord of the Rings, and we've got Dune. And this is just an amazing feat in filmmaking that we got to see this film especially. And then we get in part 2. This just speaks so many volumes about how filmmaking hasn't lost its touch.
Yeah, it's the right people at the right time. Making a film is difficult.
Yeah.
Chris Stuckman recently did a video about Madam Web and about, Sony and about how tough it is to make a film and how studios really can make that even more difficult with their mandates and with their expectations and the way they can pull away control from a director. And adaptation is even more scrutinous because you have books or comics to adapt or even other movies that, are held close to people's heart. It's not an easy thing to do. we're in an age where there's a lot of adaptations going around. We've had, as you said, Lord of the Rings is a great example of a really good one. We've had Harry Potter and Twilight and the Hunger Games. And even recently, I'm thinking about the live action Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is an adaptation of that TV show. And sometimes those things can go amazingly. Sometimes they can go really badly. I haven't seen David Lynch's Dune. I'm sure it's great, but this, I cannot imagine it being done any other way. There is such a sense of weight and an expansive universe to this. And so much of it feels so epic. And that really is the right word, because it harkens back to like a lot of those biblical epics that are kind of, maybe that's the fact that it's all in the desert and then it all feels so massive, but everything feels like it has the relevant amount of weight and importance, which is very difficult to get right when a lot of films feel like every single film does the end of the world stakes, and it's like those stakes, but rooted in character. It is intense, and it's utterly brilliant. Full spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it, and I honestly, if you haven't seen it before part 2, watch it or rewatch it. Just watch it; it's fantastic. So yes, John, briefly explain the plot for those who don't know.
Okay, Paul Atreides arrives on Arrakis after his father accepts stewardship of the dangerous planet. However, chaos ensures after betrayal as forces clash to control spies, a precious resource.
Wow, wonderful. Folks,
Wonderful.
we just spent about 2 minutes trying to figure out what a certain word in that introduction was.
Yeah.
I cut it all out, but there was some good content. If we had a Patreon, you'd be privy to all of that.
Oh my god, we would be maniacs behind the scenes just talking about anything. Oh yeah, but we're here to talk about Dune Part 1. This is just such an epic grand scale film that my brain couldn't handle to watch in the big screen. I was just felt like, oh my god, there's so much lore, there's so much world building. Oh my god, the world building is it's cinema. Scorsese would have went cinema, when he sees all the world building.
I bet
God,
Scorsese and Villeneuve are friends. Kind of like how Nolan and Villeneuve have been doing loads of IMAX interviews and they're just having a good time.
Yeah, just having a good time. I love watching the interviews in the cinema. They just have a great discussion about anything. But the world of Arrakis is something that it's not easy to get into, especially if you want to read Frank Herbert's book.
Have you read the book?
No, I tried to read. I was in Waterstones, that's a bookshop, and I was like, "Oh, there's the first page of Frank Herbert's Dune." So I opened the book and I read, and I was like, "Nope," and just put it back down. and then I was looking at the graphic novels.
Yeah. Well, I actually have the book, and before part 1 came out in 2021, I tried to read it. I think I got like 60 pages in, and I was just like, "Oh, this is so dense," and then I stopped. I think one day I will return to it. Maybe if they make Dune Part 3, if they make Dune Messiah, I'll come back and I'll read both the books, because there's so much detail on every page and there's so much intrigue. Like in this film, we spend about maybe 40 minutes, maybe even longer before we even get onto Arrakis. And there is already so much happening and there's so much interest with House Atreides. And I think it's really interesting because really we have these different people, these different houses. We have the Harkonnens and we have the Atreides and we have the Fremen. And it's really interesting how each of those, they all take influence from like real life cultures, and they are all so different. You can see how this story has really influenced a lot of other stories. Star Wars especially, with like the Empire and like, the desert setting. It's extremely Star Wars. It's really cool to see that done in such a really great way that I think the fact that it focuses on character really makes that work so well. Like, yeah, you have these huge houses and, Atreides, there's so many people in it, but we focus on Paul, we focus on Duncan and Jessica and Oscar Isaac and Josh Brolin, whose names I cannot remember. But we're focusing on
Leto and Gurney.
There you go. We're focusing on all these people through them, through what we see, through the way that we see their interior lives. It's like that scene where Paul and Jessica are at the breakfast table and he reaches for a glass and she's like, "Make me give it to you. Use the voice." Just that simple thing. We're building character, we're building background to all of this. I think this film it's long, but it does not miss a beat. It uses everything so deliberately.
They're just planting seeds all the way, and you just feel like there is something happening that the audience doesn't realize. You're seeing something in the movie, but it doesn't make sense to you. But then there's the reason for it later, and you feel like, oh my god, there is that character building. There's that arc for Paul. He has to be this kind of leader, which Dune Part 2 will get into. But this is like the start of Paul his father wants him to realize that there is a place for him, but he has to do something about it. And the character work is just incredible. It makes it feel alive. You understand these characters. When the first time you're watching it, you feel like, oh my God, this is too much for me. But when you rewatch it again, there's a lot of detail that the story can give out to you. Especially there was the scene where Paul puts his hand in the box, and I think that's just an excellent scene to set up this entire film. Paul will have to face his fears and put his hand in the box, and there's a lot of detail that might go your way, but there's massive worms as well. This is a film that is
There's also
entirely
worms.
focused. Yeah, there's also worms, but this film is just entirely focused on characters and World of Arrakis. That is just so amazing to see again. And the cast is stacked. There's a lot of like actors that you come back to, you're like, oh my God, it's Josh Brolin. Oh my God, it's Timothée Chalamet. And then it's just brilliant to see.
I absolutely love the cast in this film. We really just kind of have some of the greats. And even I know that at the time there was that big thing, Zendaya was in so much of the marketing and everyone was like, what the hell? She was only in it for like 5 minutes. And like, yeah, at the time that was like a big thing. But even so, it's an incredible cast. And even, your smaller roles like David Dasmalchian and Sharon Duncan-Brewster and Stephen McKinley Henderson. It's like, these people who aren't in it as much as like some other people, but they really make big marks. And, you just like, I feel like everybody has like an iconic scene or two, and everyone is so well realized, and you really know what they believe in and what they love. And for example, like Duncan's death scene where he faces the oncoming Harkonnens and shuts the door, and you really feel like the love that him and Paul have for each other. And even with the Duke, his whole character and the way that he says to Paul, the only thing you ever needed to be is my son. It's all great. And even, the doctor who like betrays them, even there are layers to that. It's not just an empty betrayal because he's power hungry. He does it because of his love. And also like, you find out so much about him and Baron Harkonnen in that scene. It's really, really well layered and really well done. And I think all of it has to revolve around Paul, and Timothée Chalamet just absolutely does a fantastic job at portraying this kid who, is still young, still has that youthful energy, but is faced with just like the oppressive, foreboding nature of the future, I guess.
Yeah.
And this idea, like there's that moment where he kind of has the spice dream in the tent and he's like, I'm going to be behind 1,000 atrocities or whatever he says. And it's like, there's so much weight to that. And it really sets up this tragedy. Like, I don't really know what happens in Dune, but obviously we've seen all of his visions. With some of them even coming true in part one itself, I'm really interested to see how part two will kind of send him down like this path to worseness. And I think that the ending scene is the most hype thing ever.
It's so
with
hyped.
meeting the Fremen and walking and seeing the people riding the worms, and Zendaya being like, this is just the beginning. And Hans Zimmer's incredible score plays. Like, I was just in the cinema a couple weeks ago, just like, what the fuck? Like, just absolutely dying, because I think it's just so well done and so well built up. It's really, really well structured. I do think that the structure is a little bit stop and start. The pacing is a little bit off, like
Yeah.
it feels like the end of the second act feels like the third act. And so everything after that, it feels like every scene is like the final scene of the film. I can't really explain it, but it just kind of feels like
I understand.
pushing
Yeah.
back. Like, when's it gonna end? And it's kind of like, well, yeah, like that I kind of struggle with, and I think I will always struggle with that, but it's not nearly as frustrating as it was first time round. Really, like, there isn't a moment of this that I think, yeah, this is pointless. Like, it all serves a very specific purpose, and it all builds really well for the world and for the characters as well.
Yeah, and there's so many dynamics that the film doesn't waste about the characters, and it just makes it more alive. And the sound design and the special effects are just, you have to be in like IMAX or super screen to understand, how crazy the sound is. And the first time when I watched Dune, it was in super screen. But the crazy thing is that we got Hans Zimmer's score, but the sound design when you're in that, it is absolutely insane. Like, the seats will be shaking to so much space that is going on, and you feel like you're a part of spaceships that they're flying away, and you're like, Dune, and it's just like you have no idea what's going on, but it's just so incredible what they've put into as well. It's
I
like
love the
Dune,
voice. The voice, like
yes, the
every
voice.
time that happens, they kind of like use the voice. Like, I love that kind of idea. It really, really works well. And I feel like that brings me to something else. It's
Oh.
been a while, John. but we have an email.
Wait, what?
We
Wait,
we do. It's
no,
true. Yeah.
no,
Oh yeah. From Samuel
no.
Masson, the goat
Oh
himself,
my
Return of the
God.
King.
Okay. What do you?
Yeah.
Where has he been?
Okay.
Okay.
So he says, "Hello there. So, I was very dismissive of Dune. I'm not sure why. Is it because I'm not a fan of Timothée Chalamet or not eager to learn so many things about a new fictional world? But after hearing you both get so excited about it, it piqued my interest. And what a fool I was to avoid this film for so long. What a movie. The costumes, the designs, and architecture are so good. They really immerse you into this world and make it feel lived in and give it depth. The set designers, the costume and makeup artists deserves huge praise. Did this win awards? I hope it did. The score is so mighty impressive too. I'm a huge fan of movie scores, and Hans Zimmer nails it like he usually does. When it gives you goosebumps, you know it's good. Another thing Dune
Yeah.
does so well is help you learn about this world without dumping heavy amounts of information on you. And that was one of the things that worried me, having to learn so much about a world and feeling lost on it. But Dune did a great job at helping you navigate this story. I will definitely need to rewatch this to help myself learn about the world. But bring on part two. Thanks for the pod and hard work, gents. Take care, Sam. Thank you very much, Sam.
Oh
Um,
my God,
there
Sam.
are some
Oh,
really, really great points brought up there. You know, the costuming, the architecture, the makeup,
the
like all of that
costume.
stuff, you know, easy, very easy to kind of, skip over, but utterly incredible. Like the regal garb that some of the characters wear, like, like Jessica's like dress when they first come onto Arrakis with that veil and all the still suits. Like, it's a very, very great looking film in so many ways. Like, this incredible. And I'm actually curious whether Dune won any awards as well. So I'm gonna have a look at that. Okay, so yeah, it won Best Cinematography at the Oscars. It was nominated for Best Costume Design, but it lost to Cruella.
Cruella.
It won Best
What?
Film Editing as well. It
Okay.
won Best Original Score for Hans Zimmer. It
Okay.
won Best Production Design. It
Hey.
won Best Sound. I mean, obviously, it won
Oh,
Best
hell
Visual
yeah.
Effects. I mean, really,
Oh,
it was
wow.
a absolutely mammoth of a film that was just so like, yeah, like I think those are all very well deserved categories to win for.
Yes, very deserved. I wish it won costume design because costume design is on point. Crazy that they put so much detail into, each one of the characters. What amazing film Dune is. It is a mammoth of a film, this. It's just like you have no idea, how much work is put into, but you can feel everything that the film has to offer, and it's just like carefully planting seeds all along the way, and you feel like you're part of this film, a part of something greater, and you feel like there is something massive happening. And this film is so intense, it's amazing what they've done, and part two is just going to go beyond than that. And I have no idea what part two has to offer. It's going to be crazy. And wait, I want to see June. What was the box office?
I want to say it was 480 million worldwide.
Oh, wow. You were almost correct. It was
Ooh.
433 million.
Ah, very nice, very nice. Yeah, like it did fairly well, especially when you consider COVID. It wasn't really until No Way Home that I think cinemas really were getting that kind of return. But I think that part two might crack 1 billion. I think that we might be up for the first big hit of 2024,
I
especially when
believe
there's
that.
not really a lot of competition. Like, what else is out right now that people are gonna? Are you really gonna go see Madam Web over June part two? Come on, come on now.
We're $1 billion.
We're $1 billion. We are so back.
We are so
Yeah,
back.
I think part two. I've heard incredible things about part two.
Oh,
About
part
it
two. The
being one of the
reviews.
best sequels of all time, one of the best, certainly of this century. I'm so very excited. I
I'm
have my
very
tickets
excited.
booked. I'm at a
I
midnight
have tickets
showing.
booked as
I
well,
can't wait.
so
Ooh,
can't
it's
wait.
gonna be good.
Imagine people would just go really hype in the cinema, like Soups. When they all go, oh my
Yes.
God, and just go
Let's
crazy
go.
about it.
Yeah. I mean, basically every time I see the June Part 2 trailer, I'm just like that in the cinema. I'm just
Yeah,
like, yeah.
you're like, yeah, and I'm just like, woo,
I
yeah,
can't
baby.
wait. I'm so excited. I'm in like I'm driving my housemates crazy because everything I just kind of relate it back to June. I'm always talking about. Have you seen the Lego Ornithopter?
Yeah, love
Oh
it.
my God. Oh my
Yeah,
God. I am
I want it.
spellbound by that piece of machinery.
I
I
want
just
it.
keep on
I
looking at it.
want
I'm
it
just
so
like,
badly.
it will be mine. I'm like the Baron. I'm like, my sandscape, my
Oh my God.
June, my Ornithopter.
Oh my god, have you seen the Lego mini piece of the Baron? Yeah.
Yeah, oh my god, brilliant.
It's-
Even Denis Villeneuve has seen and built the set. Like, come on,
No
come
way.
on.
Did
Yes.
he?
Yeah,
Oh
he
my God,
did.
then
He had an
please
interview where
watch
he
it.
was like, "This is the greatest thing ever." And it's a piece of the design of the ornithopter is brilliant as it is. So to translate that into Lego, it's like, ooh, oh, so cool.
Oh my god.
Right, Dune Part 1. What do you give it out of 10?
Okay, I'm gonna say 10. I'm gonna say it. I
Woo!
have to say it. 10. I have to say it.
You're so right for that. I'm really with you on that. I'm gonna go 9. But yeah, this is such a what a could it be one of the best blockbusters of the 21st century? Could part 2 be one of the best blockbusters of all time? I guess we'll wait and see. Thank you everybody for listening. If you're listening on YouTube and you liked it, you can like and subscribe. And if you want to see more, and if you're listening on Spotify, you can follow and give us a 5-star review if you think we're worthy. And next week, of course, we're doing Dune Part 2. We wouldn't miss it for the world.
Oh my
And
god.
just
Yeah.
like Sam, you can send us an email at ousetimefilmpod@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on Dune Part 2. Ask us any questions, and we'll answer them right here on the podcast next week.
And yes, you can follow us on Instagram at Out of Time Film Pod to see our incredible thumbnails from Zain Afzal. On Twitter for more thoughts from Tom, and TikTok to see edited clips, which are also on Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. And you can find links to that all in the description below. Thanks to Jones-Meyer for the excellent theme, and Ronan Phillips for focus as always. And I think that is everything.
Bada bing.
Oh.
And I also want to say,
Yes.
everyone, thank you so much for 1,000
yeah, thank you so
subscribers on
much.
YouTube. That is insane.
That is
almost
insane.
4 years to get to this point is
Oh my god.
just mental, but really,
is
really
just
cool
mental.
to see. The videos this year have been doing quite well, and that's really, really great. So yeah, thank you everybody. That's really brings a tear to my eye. We
Yes.
can't thank you enough. That's awesome.
Yes, I'm really happy that we've done so much work, into this podcast, and we thought we'll just do it in the garden, your garden, Tom, and we thought, we're just gonna talk about everything, and it's like, wow, this is something that, yeah, it's great.
A lot of people will like listen to everything in a podcast. I can't imagine anyone going back. Like, imagine listening to this episode saying, "Oh, these guys are fun," and then going back to our first stuff. Like, how embarrassing for us.
We were not structured that well back then. We were just
No,
talking
we were
about
not.
anything like maniacs. We were just like,
Yes.
oh yeah, DC fan
The new
film, yeah,
the
yeah.
news segment. Oh God, the days
Oh
of
my
the
god,
news
the
segment.
news segment. Oh my
Oh
god.
dear. No, it's great because like when we did June, when I watched the video, the video on June that we did is over an hour long. And I was like, wow, we talked about June for an hour? Great. And then I watched it. Half an hour of that, we're talking about the Uncharted trailer. Oh God. Yeah,
Oh my
just
god, the news
brilliant.
segment. Yeah, I'm glad that we don't have to do the news segment, because that would just took away the core element.
It did,
Of, like,
it
what we're
did.
talking about. So
Yeah, we're better now. And we have been rewarded for it. Thank you, everybody.
thank you, everybody. I really appreciate, and thank you for joining us on this crazy journey. We're just film buffs. We're just nerds. We just talk about anything. But thank you for joining us. And take what you're given.
Give nothing back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.